No one on Station Karen believed the warning at first. By the time the sensors confirmed it, it was already too late. A human battlecruiser was coming at full speed. And when humans came this fast, they were never stopping. Red lights flooded the corridors of Station Karen. The alarm screamed without pause, sharp and angry, echoing through metal halls that had not known fear in decades. Commander Threx Valuan stood frozen in the command chamber. His tall frame was rigid, his 4 hands clenched behind his back. His species had evolved without the ability to sweat, but if they had, the floor beneath him would have been wet. "Confirm the signal again," he said quietly. The sensor officer's voice trembled. "Confirmed, Commander. No error. No distortion." The main screen shifted. A massive ship burned through the darkness of space, engines glowing white-hot. It was moving far beyond standard safety limits, tearing through the void like it was trying to outrun physics itself. The design was wrong. It had no graceful curves.
No elegant symmetry.
No artistic structure. It was thick, armored, and brutal, built not to impress, but to survive. Weapons covered its hull like scars. Silence filled the room. Finally, Threx spoke. "That is not a pirate ship." The navigation officer swallowed. "Then, what is it?" Threx did not answer immediately. His eyes stayed locked on the screen as ancient memories, not even his own, crawled through his mind. "That," he said, "is a human warship." The room changed instantly. Consoles beeped faster. Officers shifted nervously. A wordless fear spread like a disease. "Humans," someone whispered. "Here." "That's impossible," another said. "This sector is neutral." Threx turned slowly. Humans do not care about neutral when they care about something else more. The ship's data scrolled across the screen. Designation: UNS Resolute. Class: Siege Battlecruiser. Speed: beyond regulated maximum. Crew: 412 humans. The engines flared brighter. Time to arrival? Threx asked. 17 minutes. A murmur spread through the chamber. "Evacuation order," Threx said instantly. "All civilian vessels undock immediately. No inspections. No delays." "But Commander," his second officer protested, "we don't know their intent." Threx let out a slow breath. "I do." He moved toward the viewport, staring into the stars. "My mentor fought humans during the border collapse," he said. "They lost their outer colonies. Their cities burned. Their children died." He paused. "And instead of surrendering, they learned." The officers listened in silence. "They rebuilt faster than anyone thought possible. They took our weapons apart and improved them. They used tactics no simulation predicted. They fought not for territory, but for people." Threx turned back, his voice low. "Humans do not fight wars. They end threats." The station shuddered slightly as long-range engine shockwaves reached them. The sensor officer spoke again. "Commander, the human ship is not slowing down." "Of course not," Threx said. "They never do at the start." A communication alert flashed. "Incoming transmission. Human vessel." Every eye turned to Threx. He nodded once. "Put it through." The screen flickered. A human appeared. She wore a dark uniform, her posture straight, her face calm. Her eyes were focused, not angry, not emotional. Dangerously controlled. "This is Captain Elena Cross, Terran Navy," she said. "You are in command of this station." Threx stepped forward. "I am Commander Threx Valuan. Captain, you are approaching at extreme speed. State your purpose." Captain Cross did not hesitate. "We are tracking a vessel responsible for the destruction of a human colony. 200 civilians dead." The room felt colder. "Our intelligence places that ship here." Threx's hearts pounded. "There are many ships docked," he said carefully. "I know," Cross replied. "We are only interested in one." She leaned forward slightly. "Commander, help us, and nothing else will be harmed." Threx met her gaze. And if we refuse? The captain's voice remained calm. Then we will proceed anyway. No threat. No anger. Just certainty. Threx understood then. The stories were true. Humans were not coming for war. They were coming for justice. And nothing in the galaxy would stop them. The docking bay of Station Karen had never been so quiet. Dock 7 sat at the far edge of the station, usually filled with noise, voices bargaining, cargo machines humming, crews shouting across metal decks. Now, every sound felt muted, as if the station itself was holding its breath. The raider ship was still there. Its hull was scarred and mismatched, repaired badly in a hurry. Fresh weld lines glowed faintly. Cargo doors were open as crates of medical supplies were dragged inside. The crew moved fast, nervous, glancing over their shoulders again and again. They knew something was wrong. They just didn't know how bad. Inside the control chamber, Commander Threx watched the internal feeds in silence. His officers waited for orders that might save lives, or end them. The human ship has launched boarding craft, the sensor officer said quietly. How many? Threx asked. 4. Only 4. Threx's second officer frowned. That's all? For a raider crew of 30? Yes, Threx replied. That is enough. The station trembled softly as the human battlecruiser adjusted position. It did not dock. It did not ask permission. It simply stopped, perfectly aligned with Dock 7, like a predator choosing where to strike. Inside the UNS Resolute, Captain Elena Cross stood in the drop bay. Her Marines were already suited up, armor dull gray, weapons locked to their chests. No one spoke. They didn't need to. These people killed civilians, she said calmly. Children were found under collapsed shelters. A hospital ship was fired on while broadcasting emergency codes. Her eyes moved across her team. We bring them back alive if possible. If not, she paused. We end the threat. The Marines nodded. They had heard the recordings. The boarding craft launched. On Dock 7, the raiders noticed too late. The first human craft slammed into the docking clamps with controlled violence. The second attached seconds later. Airlocks cut open with precise, surgical force. Human Marines moved fast. No shouting. No panic. Just speed and coordination. The raiders fired first. Plasma bolts lit the bay, splashing against human shields. One Marine fell to a knee, but got back up. Another threw a small metal device across the floor. It detonated with a sharp crack. The raiders' shields failed instantly. Humans charged. They did not fire wildly. Every shot had purpose. Every movement was covered by another. One Marine took a plasma blast to the chest and kept moving long enough to pull a wounded teammate to safety before collapsing. The raiders broke. They ran toward their ship, screaming, tripping over crates, firing blindly behind them. The humans followed, not rushing, not slowing, just relentless. In the control room, Threx watched with disbelief. They are protecting each other, his second officer whispered. Yes, Threx said. Even while attacking. The fight ended in less than 6 minutes. 14 raiders lay injured. 6 were dead. The rest were restrained, hands bound, heads lowered. Captain Cross entered the raider ship's command deck. The raider leader spat on the floor. You crossed neutral space. Cross looked at him, her expression cold. You crossed a line first. She turned to her officer. Secure all data. Medical teams treat the wounded, both sides. Both sides? The officer asked. They're prisoners now, Cross replied. Not targets. On Station Karen, the tension did not ease. Instead, it grew heavier. Threx received another transmission request. He accepted it. Captain Cross appeared again. The raider ship is secured, she said. Your station suffered minimal damage. Threx inclined his head. You kept your word. Yes, she replied. We always do. There was a pause. Then Cross said, Commander, why did you not warn them? Threx hesitated. Because they killed civilians. Cross studied him for a long moment. Then you understand us more than most. She ended the transmission. The raider prisoners were transferred to human custody. Medical drones followed, tending wounds with surprising care. The human ship remained silent as the process finished. Then something unexpected happened. The UNS Resolute began transmitting open band signals. Not threats. Not demands. Data. They're sending repair schematics, the engineering officer said, stunned. Station reinforcement techniques. Power grid optimizations. Why? The second officer asked. Threx watched the human ship slowly turn away from the station. Because humans fix what they break, he said. Even if they didn't break it. The massive battlecruiser powered its engines again, but this time, slowly. Carefully. As it prepared to leave, one final message arrived. Captain Cross appeared once more. Commander Threx, she said, your station showed restraint today. Remember that. Threx straightened. Captain, many fear humans. She nodded. That's fair. Then she allowed herself a small, tired smile. But fear isn't what defines us. The transmission ended. The UNS Resolute jumped to faster than light, vanishing into the stars. Silence returned to Station Karen. But it was not the same silence as before. It was heavier. Wiser. Threx looked around his command chamber. Log this day, he said. Let it be known. Known as what? His second officer asked. Threx answered without hesitation. The day we learned why the galaxy does not stop humans. And why it should be grateful they don't. The ripples reached the core worlds within hours. Station Karen was a small place by galactic standards, barely a dot on most star maps. But what happened there spread fast, faster than any ship. Data packets jumped relay to relay, carrying sensor footage, docking bay recordings, and one detail that unsettled everyone who saw it. The humans had not taken revenge. They had taken responsibility. In the Hall of Accord, where representatives of 37 species gathered, the air buzzed with overlapping voices. Tall beings of crystal and light hovered beside heavy, scaled diplomats. Screens showed paused images of the UNS Resolute, frozen in mid-burn. They violated neutral space, hissed Ambassador Krell of the Varn Collective. They executed prisoners, another accused. They repaired the station, countered a third voice. At their own cost. The room fell silent. At the center of the hall, High Arbiter Solon Mar raised one hand. Old and slow-moving, Mar had lived through 3 galactic wars. His voice carried weight. Bring in the human representative, he said. Moments later, Ambassador Jonah Reed stepped forward. He wore no armor. No symbols of power. Just a simple dark jacket and tired eyes. You have questions, Reed said calmly. Krell slammed a limb against the table. Your warship crossed borders without permission. Yes, Reed replied. Because permission was not the priority. Murmurs spread. You killed 6 beings, Krell continued. Reed nodded once. They resisted arrest after murdering 200 civilians. They were guests under station law. They were killers under human law, Reed replied. The tension sharpened. High Arbiter Mar leaned forward. Ambassador Reed, why did your captain not destroy the raider ship entirely? That would have been efficient. Reed looked around the hall. Because humans don't measure victory by how much we destroy, he said. We measure it by what we prevent from happening again. A pause. We could have erased that ship. We chose not to. Because if justice becomes vengeance, we become the monsters everyone fears. The hall grew quiet. Far away, aboard the UNS Resolute, Captain Elena Cross watched the same debate unfold on a small screen. Her ship was already en route to the edge of human space, escorting the captured raiders. One of her officers broke the silence. Permission to speak freely, Captain. Granted. They're afraid of us. Cross smiled faintly. They should be. The officer blinked. That wasn't what I meant. Cross turned her chair. They're afraid, she continued, because they don't understand us. And they don't understand us because we don't fight the way they expect. She stood and walked toward the viewport, stars stretching like scars across the dark. When humans lose, she said, we learn. When we win, we stop. Back on Station Karen, Commander Threx received an unexpected message. It was not from the core worlds. It was from a nearby mining colony, one that had been quietly suffering under raider attacks for years. The message was simple. Thank you. More followed. From traders. From frontier worlds. From species that had never dared complain before. They're asking for human protection, Threx's second officer said in disbelief. Threx nodded slowly. They are asking for something stronger than protection, he said. They are asking for accountability. In the Hall of Accord, the debate ended without a vote. No sanctions were passed. No condemnations issued. Instead, something far more dangerous took root. Doubt. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy questioned whether its rules were enough. Ambassador Reed left the hall without celebration. Outside, he paused, staring at the stars. A junior aide approached him. Sir, do you think this will lead to war? Reed exhaled. No, he said. It will lead to change. And that scares them more. On the UNS Resolute, the raider leader sat in a holding cell, medical bandages wrapped around his wounds. A human guard stood outside, silent. You could kill us, the raider muttered. Everyone knows humans enjoy it. The guard looked at him. That's what people who don't know us say, he replied. The raider laughed bitterly. Then what are you? The guard thought for a moment. We're the species that shows up when running stops working. The ship jumped to faster than light. Across the galaxy, old powers shifted uneasily. Alliances whispered. Fleets recalculated. Because the humans had done something far worse than start a war. They had proven they could end one. And they had shown restraint doing it. Commander Threx stood alone in his command chamber, watching stars drift past. For the first time in his long life, he felt something unexpected. Hope. Not because humans were strong, but because they chose when not to be. Hope did not last long. It never does when fear is waiting. 3 cycles after the events at Station Karen, the galaxy changed its tone. Trade lanes slowed. Patrol routes doubled. Neutral systems began to whisper the same question in private channels. What if humans decide we are next? Fear does strange things to intelligent species. It makes them cautious. It makes them cruel. And sometimes, it makes them foolish. The first mistake happened in the Virel Expanse. A human research convoy, unarmed, clearly marked, was stopped by a coalition patrol. The official reason was routine inspection. The real reason was fear. They boarded the ships. They searched human cargo. They demanded data access. The humans complied. That compliance was interpreted as weakness. When the convoy finally left, one ship did not jump. Its engine core had been sabotaged. The explosion lit the void for a full minute. 112 humans died. The news reached Earth in silence. No speeches. No threats. No fleet movements. Just one message transmitted on every open channel. This was not an act of war. It was an act of fear. We will respond accordingly. In the Hall of Accord, panic returned. They're mobilizing, Ambassador Krell hissed. Human fleets are leaving dockyards. High Arbiter Ma watched the star maps carefully. His old eyes narrowed. No, he said slowly. They are not forming battle lines. Human ships moved, but not toward borders. They moved toward patterns. Supply routes used by pirate coalitions. Hidden shipyards. Black market hubs that everyone pretended not to see. Commander Threx received the alert while reviewing station traffic. Human task forces were dismantling raider networks across 6 sectors. Not conquering. Removing. They are performing surgical strikes, his second officer said. With shared intelligence. Shared with whom? Threx asked. The officer hesitated. With everyone. In one decisive week, human forces did what the galaxy had failed to do for decades. Pirate fleets vanished. Slaver routes collapsed. Criminal leaders were captured alive and delivered to local authorities, with evidence neatly packaged. The galaxy was stunned. Then the second mistake happened. A coalition fleet, nervous and overconfident, intercepted a human patrol near the dorsal reach. Weapons locked. Warnings issued. The humans did not fire. They transmitted sensor data instead. It showed the sabotage, the false inspection, the planted charges. Proof. You were afraid, the human captain said calmly. We understand fear. The coalition commander hesitated, then fired anyway. The response was instant. Human ships did not overwhelm them with brute force. They blinded sensors, disabled engines, shut down weapons with precise electronic warfare. Within 3 minutes, the coalition fleet was drifting, alive, intact, helpless. The human message returned. Stand down. This ends now. They did. Across the galaxy, something snapped. Fear began to change shape. It became respect. Commander Threx watched the reports in silence. They are not punishing, he said. They are correcting. Yes, his second officer replied. But what if someone doesn't learn? Threx remembered the UNS Resolute, the calm voice of Captain Cross. Then, he said softly, the lesson will be harsher. On Earth, Ambassador Jonah Reed addressed the Planetary Council. We did not ask for dominance, he said. We asked for accountability. A council member leaned forward. And if the galaxy refuses? Reed met their gaze. Then we will keep showing up, he said. Until running stops working. Far away, in the dark between systems, ancient observers watched quietly. They had seen empires rise and fall. But never a species like this. One that restrained itself not because it was weak, but because it was strong enough to choose. The galaxy was learning. Humans were not the danger. Fear was. And humans had decided to confront it. The galaxy did not calm down. It settled. There is a difference. Fear fades. Understanding stays. Months after the sabotage incident, trade lanes reopened. Patrol fleets returned to normal rotations. The great powers of the core world stopped whispering and started talking, carefully, honestly, and for the first time, without assuming they were untouchable. Human ships still moved through space. But now, when they appeared, alarms did not scream. People watched. And waited. Commander Threx stood once more at the viewport of Station Karen. Repairs were complete. Trade had returned. New docking bays, built from human schematics, extended from the station like steel wings. They're calling it the Karen Standard, his second officer said quietly. Your emergency protocols. Threx let out a low breath. I never intended to set a standard. No, she replied. But humans did. A priority message arrived. From Terran Diplomatic Corps. Subject. Multi-species assembly request. The assembly was different this time. No shouting. No accusations. No threats disguised as law. Ambassador Jonah Reed stood at the center once more. Around him were representatives not just from empires, but from frontier worlds, small stations, and forgotten systems. Voices that had never mattered before. We are not here to rule, Reed said plainly. We are here to draw a line. A projection filled the chamber. A simple line across space. This is not human territory, Reed continued. This is responsibility. Murmurs rippled. Raiders cross it, he said. We respond. Slavers cross it. We respond. Sabotage, fear-based violence, and crimes against civilians, cross it. Ambassador Krell leaned forward slowly. And if we cross it? Reed met his gaze. Then we respond the same way. Silence followed. High Arbiter Ma finally spoke. You would hold yourselves to this line as well. Reed nodded. First. The vote that followed was not unanimous. It didn't need to be. Enough systems signed the accord to change everything. Not a human empire. A human standard. On the edge of known space, Captain Elena Cross watched the signing from the bridge of a new ship, the UNS Horizon. Her hair showed streaks of grey now. Orders, Captain? An officer asked. Cross smiled faintly. Patrol. Aid requests. And coffee, she added. Humans still need coffee. Laughter rippled across the bridge. Across the stars, something remarkable happened. When pirates struck, nearby systems called humans, not out of fear, but trust. When disputes rose, human mediators arrived, not with fleets, but facts. And when humans made mistakes, they corrected them publicly. The galaxy learned the most important lesson of all. Humans were not perfect. They were accountable. Commander Threx stood before a group of young officers years later, recounting the story. Why did humans change everything? One asked. Threx considered the question. Because they refused to accept a universe where survival belonged only to the cruel, he said. Far beyond the maps, ancient observers closed their records. Humanity had passed the test none of the others had. Not power. Not intelligence. But restraint paired with resolve. The stars remained dangerous. But now, when a red alert echoed across space, it no longer meant the end. It meant help was coming. And it wouldn't stop.